Welcome back to the channel. Today we're diving into a watch that brings together the celestial charm of the stars and the rugged durability of the sea, or at least that's what the marketing says. This is the Phoibos Delphinus, say that 5 times fast, and this is a brand new dress diver from the team over at Phoibos, coming in at around the $450 mark, although at the moment there is a little bit of a cheeky discount on there. First, let's talk about inspiration. The Phoibos Delphinus draws from the Delphinus constellation. Delphinus is dolphin in Latin. If there's any Latin speakers out there, I apologize if I'm pronouncing this wrong. Phoibos are not afraid of doing a convoluted backstory for each of their watches, but I think that's enough backstory for us now. Let's dive into the watch because this is a really interesting watch. This is Phoibos really dialing up a notch in terms of fit, finish, and quality. As you've seen in the paid promotion at the start of this video, they did send this watch in, so of course keep that into account as you're watching this review. The Delphinus boasts a sleek 39mm case. It's an interesting departure from the more dive tool watch aesthetic that Phoibos are well known for now. And as such, this watch is offering a lot more of a slender, streamlined silhouette than we've become accustomed to from Phoibos in the past. With only 11mm thickness and these elegant curved lugs, it not only hugs the wrist comfortably, but with both the polishing and brushing elements of the case, this truly is a dress diver, I would say. After handling a number of Phoibos watches over the years, this really feels like another notch up in quality of the polishing and also the dial. They've actually ticked off a few things that I've been banging on about with Phoibos watches for a while now. The first being, much to my happiness and surprise, is that they have changed out that old case. If you've seen one of Phoibos's old boxes, it was more akin to a box that you would get perhaps a sports aftershave. Wasn't a great first impression to the watch when you first got it. This watch, I'm happy to say, not only looks a lot better, but is also highly functional. This box thankfully can easily double as a travel case because it does have a zip enclosure and a nice cutout where the watch lives. There's also another elasticated component where you could put a spare strap. 8 out of 10 I would say for this box. Now let's look at the star of the show, and that is of course the dial. This series offers stunning options with the dial, and some I think are very bold for Phoibos. For those that appreciate a more classic look, there are several sunray dials, an ice blue, black and silver, with a 3-dimensional embossed pattern on the dial, something that we saw on the previous Phoibos that we reviewed. But I think if you're going to go for one of these watches, I would definitely go with one of the more bolder dial options. I particularly like the look of the natural stone dial, and I think that's where this watch really shines. Because this is a natural stone, no two dials would be exactly the same. The watch that we're looking at here has the Aventurine dial. If you're not familiar with Aventurine, it's a glass that has metal infused in it, so these inclusions really play with the light, and we've seen a number of watches that have used Aventurine recently on the channel, whether it be Christopher Ward or that Venezianico. The renders on some of these sites, it does look like it's quite sparkly, quite blingy, but in person it really draws your eye into the dial. For me, it's not too over the top. I personally have really warmed to Aventurine dials. Really draws your eye into what looks like the night sky. There's no doubt that these dials lean into more elegance than the rugged tool watch aesthetic typical of Phoibos dive watches, and at $450 I think it's a great opportunity to perhaps experiment with one of these more unique and striking dials on this model. The dial boasts applied indices and a well-proportioned framed date window. The hands are a standout feature, slender and thoughtfully designed, with a minute hand extending precisely to the minute track on the outer edge of the dial. Minute markings are also engraved on the stainless steel rehaut. These are crisp and add another nice visual element to the dial. The hands contrast beautifully against the dark blue Aventurine and are in a polished steel. A subtle beveled edge down the center really adds to their refinement, while the second hand has a beautiful pop of red that complements the automatic text on the dial. The iconic King Octopus logo is printed on the dial rather than applied. I'm a big fan of this logo, so as always, I'm glad to see they've kept a much more bolder interpretation on the back of the case. Also, what I love about the back of this case is the etchings of the text on the back are inlaid with black. I think this is a nice touch and really elevates the back of the case. It was something I really liked about my Omega Speedmaster when I had it. One of my comments from the last couple of Phoibos reviews is they've got so good with their cases and bracelet designs now. They've really been notching it up over the last couple of years. The bezel action, the use of ceramic, sapphire materials in there, but they still consistently kept with the NH35A movement, which is good for tool watches, but I felt that the cases now could really support a more higher end movement. So I'm very glad to see that in this model, they are using Miyota movements and Miyota movements in the 9000 series. The date version of this watch that we have here is powered by the reliable 9015 movement, while the no date version features an ultra slim 9030. I'm a big fan of the Miyota 9000 series. These movements are known for their reliability. The stated tolerance on these movements is -10 to +30 seconds per day, and this one I have here, when I put it on the time grapher, is running at +11 seconds. Now that's within tolerance of the movement, but I have to say it is a little bit fast for my liking. It does make me a little bit twitchy having it over 10 seconds fast a day. Now, these movements are easier to regulate than their Seiko equivalents, so I certainly am going to have a go myself. But obviously, not everyone is comfortable opening their brand new watch and trying to regulate it themselves. The unidirectional ceramic bezel is glossy and precise with 120 clicks, with 0 play, and this ceramic insert is impressively thin. The watch features 15 layers of BGW9 Superluminova. It does have an impressive lume shot, not as impressive as Seiko, although it is fair to say the lume inserted in the bezel doesn't perform as well as the lume on the dial itself. Let's get to the bracelet, because this is one of my favourite elements of this watch. I am a real sucker for a beads of rice bracelet. This is a perfect finishing touch to an already versatile watch. The class features of on-the-fly adjustment provides about a link's worth of extra room. This bracelet is a perfect finishing touch to an already versatile watch. It does wear very well on my 7.2-inch wrist here. Not only does the watch look a little bit more slender and sleeker, but the measurements also back that up. This has a 39mm case with a 46.5 from lug to lug. The 11mm thickness really ensures the watch sits close to the wrist and means that it is very comfortable, where the center of gravity is towards your wrist, so it doesn't hang off your wrist. It sits very close and is very comfortable to wear. Even though it is more slender, it still has those dive watch chops, and this one features a screw down crown with 200 meters of water resistance. If you're accustomed to the larger size of previous Phoibos models, the smaller case might take a moment to adjust to you, but it did quickly win me over, and I do like larger watches. But admittedly, if you do like very large watches, if you do like the Leviathan and the other larger Phoibos watches, then this one definitely is smaller than those. Even though it is a smaller watch, it's so charming it really grew on me. This watch isn't totally perfect. The screw down crown, even though it is well machined and has a nice mechanism, does have an extra lip on it. They've done this for probably a design reason, but occasionally when I've looked down on my wrist, I have thought, oh no, I've left the crown unscrewed, but I haven't. It's just that it has this extra lip in. Also, this is a step up in price from some of the other Phoibos models as well that usually come in around the $350 to $400 mark. And I think this is so feature packed, and you do have that upgraded Miyota movement in there as well, that I think this more than justifies the cost. I'm really interested to know what you guys think. Let me know in the comments down below which dial you would pick, and don't forget to like and subscribe and hit the thumbs up if you enjoyed this upload, and I'll see you on the next one.